Hey guys, it's been a while since I've done one of these, and honestly, I need to do these more. This video is just going to be me talking aimlessly about some random thoughts on BDO into my mic while I just get a bit of the grind going on in the background. So let's talk about some BDO. And if you guys enjoy this style of video, I will definitely make more. Just give the video a like and let me know. And where to begin? Well, this game is in such an incredibly new player-friendly state that it's almost awing to see the progress that players are making these days. And the disparity gap between endgame players and newer players seems to have a smaller gap these days, but by no means is it dramatic enough in fashion to notice at certain times. There's always going to be gear disparity in this game. But the game is so new player friendly that it's honestly one of the best times to even consider playing the game if you've ever played it before or you're thinking of trying it again. And I really do mean that. It's in such a good state for new and returning players. It always seems to be that kind of target for a lot of content and things and quality of life changes that kind of occur. So definitely consider checking it out if you have ever had some thoughts or second thoughts about it. Maybe this is just going to be kind of the comment that pushes you over the edge. But with that being said, I've also been contemplating on releasing more specific videos and topics that cover outdated guides with just more updated information. But if I were ever to make some videos like this and a series on these types of topics, if you guys have any ideas, what are some suggestive ideas and things that you'd like to see revamped? I'm talking like new player guides, gearing guides, topics of that kind of nature that would help you guys with questions or new players to come to the game. What are some areas you think could just be more brought up to date and just be given refreshed content? I'd love to know some of the gray areas that you guys see that we could bring a bit more color to. But on the essence of new content, new players, we've got new classes, and oh boy, we've had Megu and Wusa in the recent releases of new characters. And man, I was really wrong about how I thought this class was going to be released into the game. And let me just give some of my scopes and thoughts on that before I ask you guys for some of your opinions. So initially, I absolutely thought that Wusa was going to be released in a succession stance, and then Megu was going to be the awakening stance of the class as a whole. I thought they'd be one character, but nope. They made two, and after seeing Megu release, I thought that maybe she'd have an awaken only stance or just remains in succession only, with kind of the influence or inspiration being that Megu was awakening for Wusa. But now we're hearing that the awakening is in development and as we speak for both classes. And boy, I was wrong about how this class was going to be released, but I've honestly had a really good time playing both, my preferred being Megu myself. She's an incredibly great grinder, almost broken in that regard, and her PvP is absolute chef's kiss. And I also understand why people are definitely having an issue with her. So that, yeah. But my question to you guys is, how do you guys feel about the current state of Wusa and Megu? What are your guesses for any awakening styles that we may see from both? Anything you guys have been speculating? Me personally, I have no guesses. I just want a class with some nunchucks on them, and let's just call it a day. Please, just give me some nunchucks, please. The one thing that I'd like to see specifically changed with Megu, I don't mind her clones. I think we can all get used to it over this amount of time, but her clones being able to specifically show up on the radar, I absolutely think that's a hot take of garbage that needs some serious adjustment. There's no class in this game that has that feature or mechanic that is like this, and I find it to be further ridiculous that this even exists on one specific class. It's so unique that me personally, this is probably a really bad take, but I feel like it's an exploit of the dots on the radars that can appear. I know that's a bit aggressive, but I simply do not feel like this quote unquote feature should exist with her at all. Like the clones showing up in front of us with our name tags over it, I even think that's a bit aggressive, but sure, that's fine in the art of, manipulation, I guess. But the radar, I feel like we use a lot of the times for tracking certain characters and classes with just their movement and how hard they might be to track. With Megu, it just makes it further impossible in certain situations because you just kind of have to take a 50-50 guess in the swing of things depending on the pace of the fight. So maybe you guys can relate to that. But let's talk about PvE and the state of making some money right now in the game as well with these classes and with it being so new player friendly. Our NA market, I can only speak for NA, is absolutely fluctuating with prices, but certain lower end spots are really starting to put out some comparable endgame silver per hour targets. For example, let's take Sakraya Underwater, which is honestly, I think, the best example that I could give on this topic. The price of elixirs that you can craft, yes, I know you need to get frenzies, but they are orderable. And from there, the price of the tongue rad rings, and with it also being a Kafra drop spot, it's kind of wild to see fresh out of season server players being able to take advantage of spots like this almost right off the cuff if they know what they're doing. And the range of silver per hour in these spots these days is getting absolutely insane, making progressing that much faster and easier, but also kind of putting back later grinds just a bit because of just the marketplace fluctuation and inflation and all that jazz. Whereas we can get really sweaty in spots like Calfee and Elvia to put out a comfortable billion silver per hour for some people, and you know, you can make almost the same amount with the half amount of labor, getting similar results at certain lower end spots like Sakraya, which is great, and it's weird at the same time, but more great just simply because this becomes more accessible to BDO's newer player scene. You know, you've got centaurs with Agris Fever, you've got Agris Fever consuming almost just a dramatic amount less of Agris points with Histria spots and desert spots, and then you've got Stars End as well, especially with some of the events that have been coming to the game as well. Stars End, it's an RNG spot, it definitely with the distortions, because when you get distortions, it's great. When you don't get distortions, oh boy, that shit's cold. But I think Sakraya is just kind of the best example when it comes to stuff like this as well. So again, on the topic of new players potentially looking into the game, not wanting to get into such a daunting grind, wanting to put out more silver, it's definitely all there for the new and returning players as well. But I think what I'm getting to is this, you know, though the money per hour that players can make these days is definitely different, I would lean on the side of it just being better overall, since later game content just becomes more comfortably accessible. And also hearing just friends getting into the game comfortably and realistically for certain grinds and being able to hit more AP and DP thresholds, all while getting more involved into the scene of PvP. It's just cool to see that kind of progression at a faster, more realistic space. So it's definitely a cool thing to see. I talk more on PvP right now, just since we're kind of going over a few things here, but as of in the recent weeks, I've had such little involvement in large scale and even small scale that I feel like my opinion doesn't really hold a very weighted value at the moment. I've kind of just been in the process of destroying my gear to make so many arrangements that it's hard to realistically gauge certain fights and where the wide disparities in certain statistics and also skill may be. Like I am a terrible duelist on Megu. I'm not even going to try to attempt to defend that. I am terrible at finessing with my Megu, but she's a ton of fun to play, and the things that she can do in large scale is ridiculous. But yeah, and on the topic of PvP as well, Solare is just now out of the mix. I kind of wish they just kept the game mode in, but I don't know. You guys ever get that feeling that Solare was just going to be something so cool and special that maybe even the goods that came from it, you know, have those goods reflected into the PvP scene of the game, you know, large scale, small scale? Wouldn't that be cool to see? Yeah, me neither. Well, I mean, why would we need to do that, right? But I do wish that Solare kind of just stayed around a bit more, even if the ranked season came to a close, you know, just having kind of indefinite practice mode. But I mean, we'll see. Maybe for the player base, it kind of falls off later into the season, into the ranking seasons, as those rankings get a bit more solidified, and it just kind of gets, maybe it just gets more traction when things are kind of being re-released into a new season, if that makes sense. Like, get all the hype build up for it coming back so people return to it to try or decide to try it out. I don't know, I'm just kind of babbling here. But any changes or things that you guys would want to see in Solare with Solare with this new season coming to an end? What are some of the things that you guys wish to see even influenced into more of a large scale topic and just kind of into the world of BDO? Me personally, I would have loved and still love to see assist making and playmaking mechanics take its influence into the large scale scene. I think it'd be some really cool needed flair just to see in that scene. But I mean, that's just me, you know, seeing those blue tags come up for involvement of getting a player killed and dying and stuff like that. You know, seeing the damage being able to be dealt, seeing HP healed and stuff of that nature. I think players would honestly take pride in specific roles that they play, you know, even just players for the damage that they take, like, you know, tank builds and stuff of that regard, people who are playing support builds and keeping players alive and just things of that nature. I think it'd be super cool to see stuff like that. But yeah, I have a lot to kind of ramble on about, so I'm going to definitely save the rest for just another talking video. I know I've kind of been all over the place here, but in the meantime, please do feel free to put any of your input in the comment section below. Maybe we can get a conversation flowing here, who knows? And if you guys have any questions on my opinions on certain things to talk about, please absolutely feel free to put them down below in the comment section. I have no problem taking your guys' suggestions and ideas and giving you guys my take and opinions on stuff like that. I know I've talked about a lot and a little, and I just love to know what you guys think generally overall. So thanks for making it this far if you have. This is your daily grind update. I have no idea what I'm going to call this. And yeah, thanks for listening and coming through to join me on this video. Please consider leaving it with a like if you guys want to have more of this. I'll definitely put more of these out because it just feels refreshing to get some topics and ideas off my mind and share it with you guys. Anyways, that's about it. I'll talk to you later, guys, and have yourself a good rest of your day.